Hello, game devs! Welcome to Summer Session 1, Digital Media and Design 2500 Intro to Game Design. In this class, we're going to be looking at video games, how they're made, and what we're going to be doing in this video specifically is going over the syllabus. So stay tuned and we'll review. So I've got the syllabus in front of me here, and I'm just going to be reading through it a little bit and going over the basics of this class. As you may know, Intro to Game Design is going to be a summer session class, which means it goes from June 1 to July 2nd. So we're kind of compressed, but we've done this before, and it still creates the same caliber of work. And in fact, I kind of like the short intenseness of this because it gives you more opportunity to kind of focus on your work and not get distracted by other classes, which, can sometimes happen. And we are asynchronous and online, so we'll mostly be handing in our homeworks through a system that I will describe in a little bit. And you want to pay attention to this video specifically about how to hand in homework. It will also be at your homework sections, but we're doing it a little bit differently from the way that the intro videos are. So I'll get to that once we get to that section. So this course is a introduction to the principles of video game design. You're going to be looking at video games, you're going to be playing some, you're going to be thinking critically about them, and then you're going to be creating them as well. I'm scrolling down. There are required course readings, and normally you would be playing this in the lab because we have a lab account here at UConn. Unfortunately, that is not necessarily the case now, so I've pared it down a little bit. But the games that you're going to want to be buying are The Longing, Undertale, The Stanley Parable, World of Goo, Dream Daddy, Weird Worlds, Return to Infinite Space, and Her Story. Now, I tried to keep that around $60, which would be the price of one game. There is also a bunch of free games that you'll be downloading as well. Required course technology. This is actually a very important thing. You need to have a 3-button mouse with a mouse wheel on it. If you don't have one of those, you have to get one. It is very difficult to work within Unity or any 3D system without having a mouse. There's also headphones, a webcam. I expect that when we chat to be kind of on webcam, and high-speed internet is really, really helpful for sure, and it's definitely going to be important because the things that we're uploading and downloading are going to be quite large, and all of the lecture videos are also on YouTube. Now, if you have a place where you can download and upload things like your local library, I think that's totally fine. You should do okay. Software. Now, this is a big list, and I have separated into things that you must have and then things that you might need depending on the way that your game goes. The things that you must have is the Corgi Engine. This is provided as a link, so do not buy it. Because we have a site license for it for you. But if you'd like to buy it, you certainly can. It's a really great tool that we'll get into some depth about. We also want you to get the FPS all-in-one plugin. And then you also want GitHub Desktop or another Git client if you know what it is already. There are things like GitKraken and other things. So if you'd like, you can use those. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just get the one that I have in the link here. And then Microsoft Teams, which is where we're going to be talking in chat. If there's any sort of questions, I usually try to keep that all in Microsoft Teams so that it doesn't get lost in email, because that way you have a direct access to me. Basically, anytime you want, you can ask me for some help, and I will try to respond at least within the day. So Microsoft Teams is where to get at me. It's also on my phone. It will trigger, it'll notify me during business hours. So the other thing that you're going to need is Unity 3D. Now, in the syllabus, you have the specific version number that you need to get, and you shouldn't get the latest one. You're going to get the latest long-term support system, which it doesn't really mean anything to you, but what it means to developers is it's something that will stay stable, so that like the tutorials will stay the same. So everyone has to have the same one. That way I can also open your projects pretty easily, and I don't want to have to juggle 10 or 20 installs of a different Unity systems. So for software you might need, there's some Creative Commons artwork that you're free to use and enjoy. There's the Discord. Now, there are links here to the Unity Discord, Reddit, IGDA, and to the Discord for Corgi Engine. So there's a lot of opportunities to connect with game developers who have used these systems, and it's one of the reasons why we buy them. You might also want the GitHub Student Developer Pack. It's a really nice thing that you can register for as a student. You get tons of fun services. YouTube, might be helpful if you're going to be sharing video files or your pitches. We are also going to be doing that through our homework hand-in. There's also Google Apps, and I think you all know what's going on with the rest of these. So the Unity assets that I might suggest you buy, if you would like to, if you've already got an idea of what you want to do. Rewired, which helps you integrate gamepads, and then Dialogue System for Unity. It's a very narrative-based system, so if you're planning on doing something that's heavily narrative, those would be plugins that I would suggest you use. During this course, you're going to be challenged to create a video game based off of a public domain work. Public domain is when things from a certain age become available for anyone to use. In this case, and in this year, 1925 is the year to look for. So anything that was released in 1925 is now in the public domain, and those are the kind of things that you're going to draw inspiration from to create a video game of your choosing. Now, this mirrors the video game industry a lot, because if Marvel or Sega or whomever, they would come to us and they would say, hey, we want you to pitch us a couple video games. We want you to figure out what to do with this character or that character, how to integrate this into a new story. These are the things we have available to us and that we want you to give us a pitch for. And in this way, also, it avoids that kind of like blank slate problem that a lot of people have about brainstorming out an idea, and that's going to be really helpful for you in this kind of first endeavor. You'll also notice that in the brainstorming assignment, I give you the example of mindfulness. Mindfulness is just something that we can all look at and talk about. However, that's not like the final game. Remember that the final game that you're going to be working for, the thing you're going to create your actual pitch for, is the 1925 public domain property. So if we scroll down to multimedia, or if we scroll down to the rest of the syllabus, we have 3 columns. We've got the week on the left, we've got multimedia in the middle, and we've got the assignments on the right, which have links to them. And the links go into much more detail on how to submit and what to submit and what everything looks like and what to do. In the middle, you have links out to things I want you to watch. Now, if it's marked optional, then it's optional. Otherwise, it is not optional. I expect you to review it and kind of have an idea of what those videos or the subject matter that's within those videos each week. There are also some video games in here that you're going to be reading interviews, playing, and you're also going to watch my review for them as well. And in that scenario, the way we're going to do our game discussions this year is pen pals. So you're going to be expected to write 2 letters to your pen pal, which is going to be a group that does not change throughout the semester. And you're going to write back and forth twice, so 3 paragraphs-ish about the game. And I don't want to see anything about, like, this is a game that has pixel art, right? Because you know that the other person has also played this game and is going to engage in a discussion. So you both know that it has it. But if there's something notable about it, yeah, sure, go into that. But I want these things to be thought out. And those discussion questions, or these discussion pen pal letters, like if you were writing a pen pal letter, are going to go up on the discussion boards on Husky CT. I'm also flexible about the time when you do certain games. These are suggested order of playthroughs. However, if you play a few more or a few less on one week or another, I think that that's okay. As long as you both are coordinating it together, that's okay with me. I'm more interested in to see your discussion and what you all thought of it.
So, how do you hand in your homework? Well, I have invited you to a Google Drive. This one is 2021 summer, DMD 2500, Kenneth Thompson. This is the folder that you're going to be putting in all of your homework, and everyone is going to put all their work in the same spot, except for their team evals and their discussions. And if you did not realize, this README means read me. So let's go into this and read what it is we need to do to name things. So in our case, we are going to name, based off of this format, our homework. We're going to be using Pascal case. Now, what that means is just there's a capital every time there's a word. That's the way that we are going to do it. And so if there are multiple words, so if like autobiography and something else, we might capitalize everything. And if there are multiple users who are participating in a homework assignment, you are also going to then have all your names in Pascal case with capitals. This instance, let's say you're submitting your autobiography homework. You need to name your homework DMD 2500 underscore your last name underscore autobiography. And you'll also notice that in a lot of the homework hand-ins, we have the file format that you need to hand it in. For movies, we do MP4 or .mov. But you need to make sure that you're recording in the proper formats. So when you've got multiple documents, I'm going to also give you an example of what those documents are, like what you're going to have the naming convention for them, and in what folders and what organization needs to happen. And if you're submitting a build, you're going to zip all of that up. And so if you're submitting a build, you also have to zip it up. And when you drop things in, do not use WinRAR, do not use 7-zip, do not use whatever is the Mac version of that. I forget what it is. So it's like Archive or something. So just use zip. That way we can all have access to it. And if you are for some reason unable to zip a file for some reason, then the next thing to do is 7-zip, which is really useful. It's just not very common, and so other people are going to access these files, and they will also have to install that. So zip only. The only difference here, and so I also posted a picture of what it is that you make a build, and this may not make too much sense here, but I just want to show you all the files. This one is PC, this one is an Android build, which if you notice has one file. So if you're making an Android game, you specifically don't have to zip your things, but if you are making a PC or a web build, or this is an iOS build for those who are glutton for punishment. So this is just to help you figure out what it is you need to upload. And that's it. This folder, you do not have the ability to delete things. You only have the ability to add things. If I see something that's in here that is not the correct naming convention, I'll just delete it, and I'll ask you, or you'll notice that it is gone, and you will have to resubmit. And these are all time stamped and that kind of thing, just like Husky CT. So it should be really good, and it's a really easy place for us to then trade files with each other and keep organized.
So going down into week 1, we're going to have some introduction things, including the Unity Hello FPS tutorial, which is a tutorial that I've written that gives you just a little bit of everything, just vaguely touching on Unity and its interface. And in week 2, we're going to be working on the Corgi Engine. And the Corgi Engine is a video game engine that's much like something that I would have in the industry, where we had a core engine, and that engine allowed us to spin off new games. So if we were working on Wolverine, or if we were working on Iron Man or Captain America, they all shared the same base set of code, but had a lot of customization and level design built out on top of them. And, they did very different things. But there's this kind of core platform to work off of. So this is a really great tool. It really mirrors industry experience. And with that tool, we're going to be creating Mario 1-1, which is going to be, like the first level of Mario. And from there, in week 3, you're going to either get more into Corgi 2D, or you can choose to do VR or any of the template Unity asset systems like first-person shooter, and there's a couple other ones in the main menu. You have to put this into your project pitch that you're going to be doing this, and you have to realize that you should be going through the tutorials that they're setting up for you, which they have some very robust ones, which is why I think that this is okay for you to do. And we'll then have to modify the final assignment, which is designed for side scrollers, but it's copy pastable into other systems or other formats. So if you have access to VR hardware, you're totally fine doing a VR project. If you don't, unfortunately, our lab is closed right now. Normally, students have access to those to that system here at UConn on the campus. So apologies, but only do VR if you've got the headset and at this time. In week 3 and 4, you'll be, working on your skills, and you'll beginning to develop your game. And if you notice, digital one sheet and presentation, that is kind of your final graded assignment. From there, we have digital prototype, alpha, beta. These are different milestones within the game development process that we can we go into in more detail. However, none of these are graded. The only thing that's graded is the final assignment. The reason for that is that sometimes games take a while to, percolate, and sometimes you can see a lot of action happening like right at the last minute, or early on if you want to get your project really polished. No reason why we can't accept an assignment early, but the only thing that's graded about the prototype, alpha, and beta is the discussion questions, and that's going to be about talking about our grading policy. You need to have something handed in that also tries to take off the pressure about getting something good in. Anything, if you put it up, we can give you feedback on it. And you as you and your classmates need to give feedback to each other as much as I need to give you feedback, because we're all game players here and we all have opinions. And part of the critique process is integrating different opinions into your game. So if we go down a little bit more, have final course, the evaluation, 20% participation, which is the pen pal and the response to builds that we put up in Google Drive. And assignments are 40%. That includes the digital one sheet and presentation. And then the final project is 40% of your grade, and that is the final game. And it's going to be judged as a final product, as if it's the final submission. But this is one of the really awesome things about the game development in the summer session, is it's a little bit more condensed, so it allows you to work on it kind of more in a sprint, which is much more similar to the way video game development generally tends to go. That's why we have game jams, which are like weekend experiences where you just develop something over the weekend, and we'll be playing things along those lines as well, and getting you exposed to those. So participation, I think we talked about that already, but if you're going to give criticism in other ways, that's totally great. Just make sure you can record it and get it back to me in some way. So if you prefer phone calls or something, or video chats, I guess that would be also okay. But let me know about that beforehand. I need a tangible way to see that you are discussing in depth the game. And again, in those discussions, not really looking for you to describe what the game was. I'm expecting you to go into depth about your experience with the game and what you thought of it, what you thought the artist was doing. Check out my How to Critique video if that is unclear. As a notice, we're using GitHub and the university GitHub, so sometimes our work is a little bit public facing in the way that is up there, or it's also available to the class, so I just want to let you all know. Also, as a weekly time commitment, you should be expected to dedicate about 30 hours a week to this course. The expectation is based off of the Yukon standard system. And you can click a link to read more about that. Student authentication and verification. All your homework assignments are being handled, are being handed in via your email, NetID, and password, either on Husky CT or Google Drive. Student responsibilities. It is an online forum. You still are expected to maintain your academic integrity and follow the student code of conduct. Also, one thing to note about plagiarism. In this class, we're talking about plagiarism when we talk about music a lot of times and assets. So the only kind of things that I want you to bring into your projects are public domain, something that will be free to everyone to use. I have a lot of asset lists and places where you can get these things, but even the YouTube algorithm will very quickly catch any sort of music that is copywritten or that kind of thing. So please don't put it in there. I consider it plagiarism. Same kind of thing. So please don't do that. Just use the approved sources or create them yourself. Students with disabilities. I am very happy to make any adjustments that I need to for this course in order to make sure that you are successful. Please reach out to the Student for Disabilities Center as well as to me, because they will provide us access to resources that I would otherwise not have access to help you out. And then they do all their official stuff. So also, technical and academic help. I really suggest that you do not use a Mac computer or iOS. I really want you to be using Windows. Some of the games only run on Windows, but if you need technical help, like installing Boot Camp, go ahead to talk to UITS about those kind of things, if Microsoft Teams isn't working or your Google Drive or something like that. Office hours, email me at any time. Text me via Microsoft Teams, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. So just get at me any way you can, and we will organize some time. And as a FERPA reminder, if we're talking, and there's someone else in the room, I don't have the ability to acknowledge them. So I don't mind being the bad guy if you don't want to have them talking about your schoolwork or whatever as well. However, if you do, you can just send me an email saying, hey, this person is allowed to talk about school, blah, blah, blah. Send that to me just because I know this is virtual, and then sometimes other people are in the room. So we want to respect that, especially if we're talking about grades or something like that. They have no business knowing what's going on. And if you want me to be the bad guy, I'll tell them to go take a hike. Okay? So other than that, I will see you virtually in class.